Hi Pooja, how are you doing?
Hi Rajiv, I'm fine. And how are you doing?
Very, very good. Lovely to have you on Leaders in Library Season 2. We were wanting to do this sometime a week or two earlier, but you were completely busy with your work. Happy to have you today.
Thank you so much, Rajiv, for having me here.
Okay, superb. How are things in the organization otherwise during this part of the year?
Huh. I think it's settling down. I can't relate to the things and the situation it was maybe 7, 8 months
Yeah,
back, but
yeah.
now things are much better. We are getting up with manufacturing. Manufacturing is going into second shift, third shift as well.
Mm-hmm.
A little problem with the increased absenteeism. We are still aware that people are still living in some fear and anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and the cases in the past weeks have increased. So little issue with the absenteeism, but I think the business is growing, doing well. The market is responding, and we are hopeful that it continues to respond well.
Absolutely. All of us are at least indicators are very strong that 2021 would be a better year for all of us. Yeah,
That's true.
interesting.
And
And
I think
having
as an organization in the past 2 months, we've had almost two product launches, one in the EV space of three-wheeler, another in the two-wheeler space. So it's pretty motivating and exciting to see that, okay,
absolutely.
even in tough times, the company has geared up and it's still making investments, it's still launching new product.
Yeah,
Customers are also really excited about the new products coming in. So quite
fantastic.
excited.
Fantastic. And for me, having head L&D and OD for TVS Motor Company for their domestic and international business for many years, I'm still connected with the organization very much, and I keep getting inputs on how the market's moving, how are they doing. So I
Ah,
get indicators of how the automobile industry is doing, especially the two-wheeler segment. So happy to note that things are positive. Lovely. So let's get started. Before we get into the book of the day that you have chosen, and it's one of the most powerful business strategy books for me ever. And I think every leader sitting at the helm of affairs like you, Pooja, should have read the book, and there's no option about it. That's how I see this book. And
right.
thank you for picking this book. Before we get into a couple of details of the book, let me have the honor of introducing you to the audience. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you would be sitting when you listen to the guest of the day. All of you were part of Leaders in Library Season 1. We had 33 global guests coming and talking on 22 powerful books. Season 2, we have 40 leaders coming and talking on 40 exclusive books. And we have yet another leader for the day, Ms. Pooja Bansal, Head of HR, Piaggio Motors. She has been with the organization for 12 years. Now, in the world where 3 to 4 years seems to be longevity, 12 years is very, very impressive, Pooja. And I don't want to sound any gender language here, but it's so inspiring to see a lady heading HR in an automobile space. And I can tell this with some element of authority that I've earned having worked in automobile space. This is fabulous. And I know how the automobile industry is, and it's lovely to see somebody like you there, Pooja. She is somebody who's got experience across anything and everything that you can speak under the umbrella called HR, whether you want to call it change management, you want to call it leadership development, organization development, performance management, anything that you put your pin on, she has done it. And what's more impressive is she has done it across the globe. She's got Indian soil experience and across and outside the Indian soil experience, which is fabulous. She's also a globally certified executive coach. With all that, she drives business for Piaggio Motors. Beyond all these accolades, what's interesting for me is she's also a crazy book lover like me, and that's the biggest pull for me. Thank you so much, Pooja, for accepting the invitation and joining the force. Welcome on board.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm also excited to actually share some of the snippets of this absolutely inspiring book.
Superb. Let's get started. So I'm rubbing my hands to create some heat there. And I'm going to throw the first question to you, which is tell me, Pooja, how early did books start in your life? Were you a school going girl or a college going girl or an executive entering into the corporate with a lot of aspirations? How and when did it happen? Tell us a little about that.
No, it's very interesting. I need to share this with you. I have been a book reader right from the childhood. I think I
Mm-hmm.
started reading books. Now, books could be even your, Tinkle or,
Yeah.
Chacha Chaudhary and
Chanda
all.
Mamas.
Exactly, and I call it like any kind of book is a good book reading habit.
Yeah.
And I started reading this way back when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
The only thing that has changed while I am X age, I'm not telling you my age. So while I'm X age today, the only thing that has changed is the variation in the kind of books that I have picked up.
Absolutely.
And very fortunately, because of my habit and my
Hmm.
passion to read, I picked up English literature as one of my majors while I was doing my BA, and in the first year itself. And while I was studying literature at that point of time, being the age that I was quite fascinated with this book. You must have heard about Mills and Boone, the romantic writer books, etc. While my English literature teacher never liked that book in my hand, so she kept, with a cane saying, "Look, you're studying English literature. You're supposed to study something like William Shakespeare, read better books, etc." But for me, I think a book is a book. But yes, eventually I kind of developed interest into Sherlock Holmes, then in Charles Dickens, William Shakespeare. I think I read a lot, not only as part of my curriculum, but also because I think it was fabulous. Writing, a lot of language improvement, the
Hmm.
vocab that gets improved while you're reading that book,
Yeah.
a lot of advantages as a reader. And then
Absolutely.
eventually, while I came up in a profession, while I was doing my MBA in HR, and
Hmm.
as part of your research, as part
Hmm.
of your interns, it's very obvious that you have to read up management books. Because
Yes.
if you don't read the management books, and what kind of knowledge or what kind of contribution would you be able to make in your even in your
True.
training or
True.
internship? I think that is a time when I started reading a lot of management books.
Hmm.
Currently, I have to admit that I'm quite confined to management books. And reasons that I'm confined to management books is because I feel if you read something, it's
Yeah.
important to apply as well.
Apply.
What do you do otherwise? You can't just read and memorize it and keep it as
Correct.
knowledge with you.
Correct.
The best thing is application because when you apply it, you get to know what's working, what's not working.
Yes.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
currently a lot of management books and currently a lot of exciting subjects in and around HR and in and around business as well. Because I'm
Lovely.
passionate
Lovely.
for business. Though into HR, I think if you don't know business, if you're not connected to business, you can't be successful.
Beautifully said.
That's how
Beautifully said.
the journey for reading has been so far.
Fantastic. Now I understand uh, why you have such a good diction in English. That's the literature behind it. So when I spoke to you first time, I said, "Ha, there is a diction better thing here," because I am a Kendriya Vidyalaya student. My father was in government, and I remember during those days we would look at the convent boys and girls walking out with their lovely skirts and shorts and jackets. अरे अंग्रेजी बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं हम लोग तो केंद्रीय विद्यालय के लड़के हैं. You know, now I understand where it's coming from.
I do agree though, because I think it was very fortunate that I have always been into convent and always been a literature student. It is helping me. So when people
Lovely,
actually
lovely.
compliment me for my public speaking skills, I owe a lot to the school and
I
the
know, I know.
experience that I went through.
Yeah, no, I think in hindsight today, if I look back, it plays so much to advantage because when you're sitting at the helm of affairs, where you're looking at the entire organization, Pooja, you have multiple forums on which you stand and talk and influence people. When you have the command of language and the ability to express, I think it's great credibility that it builds for yourself, isn't it, as a leader?
Totally agree. Totally. And I think what also helps is articulation. A lot
Yes,
of time you might have a lot of knowledge, but if you're not able to articulate it
true.
and convey the same to the audience or with anybody that you're talking to, then it doesn't hold any value.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
this command on language also helps you to articulate your thoughts properly.
Fantastic. Superb, superb. So when you started with the Tinkles and Chandamamas of the world and today you're into management books, how did books play a significant role, Pooja, in evolving you as a leader? And today you are one of the fast-track young HR leaders in India, leading a huge organization. So how did books play a role? Let's hear that.
Uh, I remember a phrase, once long, long back. I think it was almost like when I started my career, one of my mentors,
Mm,
who was kind of guiding me in the projects, did mention that he believes that readers are leaders.
mm,
Uh, I think it caught over me. And I believe that as a leader,
mm,
constantly upgradation that you need to do to yourself.
True.
And especially it becomes even more challenging because as you grow in the ladder, people
Mm.
are looking up to you. You need
Yeah.
to keep building your credibility and polishing the credibility as well.
Very
Because
true.
you will be respected, you will be followed only when you have a level of respect and credibility from people around you that are observing you.
Mm.
When you're a fast track, I think you have higher responsibilities on your shoulder because
Yeah.
every time you need to prove yourself. You need to
Very true.
constantly tell people or show people or demonstrate that you're the right person.
Yes.
Wrong, because I think it's fair that people around you have high expectations because that demonstrates that the confidence they have in you. And when they keep having high expectations, you keep building your benchmarks, which are
Absolutely.
higher, and that's what I consider. Now, books, reading books, I think is essential because as a leader, if I read book, I not only enhance my existing knowledge and skill
Mm.
because everything is changing. I think research shows that every 18 months information that you had actually gets upgraded. Now, if
Correct.
you want to keep yourself upgraded and you don't have time to attend institutions or you don't want to go back to college campus, etc., the best way is pick up books and read it.
Very true.
Books have it all.
Yeah.
There is anything that can give you every bit of information how to be successful are the books. What you need to do is just pick up the right book to read. And whether you pick up randomly, even a random book will have a takeaway as a leader for you. And
Correct.
that's what keeps me on because books are the biggest source of knowledge. So if you need knowledge, you want to upgrade yourself or even polish your existing skills, go back to books. Further, I must tell the readers here is that reading is not a one time event.
Yes.
You just can't finish reading one book that somebody recommended to you or somewhere you picked it up, which is
Mm.
good. You pick up on events, conferences, or somebody just mentioned it to you and you picked it up. Very nice. But then
Mm.
it's not an event. If you consider it as an event, then your knowledge gets stagnated because
Beautifully said.
all that you have done is just read one book, and one book can give you a piece of knowledge which is relevant for a particular section and for a
True.
particular situation. So even like for example, we have so many books on motivation. So can you kind of just read one book and get motivated all your life? You cannot. So reading has to be a habit,
Beautiful.
and it gets developed with time.
Yeah.
And I would say go slow. It's not necessary that you need to finish a book in 5 days, 10 days. It's absolutely fine if you're not somebody who can concentrate for a very long time and
Mm.
finish off a section of a book at one go. It's absolutely fine as long as you're
Mm.
reading and you're making your notes.
And
I
applying it
want to
as well.
yeah, I want to show something. You see this book, while I've read this book almost 7 or 8 times, and people who've read Blue Ocean Strategy know for sure that reading just keep reading, applying, because there are so many concepts here. So I use these, what do you call these? The the
Post-its.
the post-its just to make my notes.
Lovely.
And I'm taking my notes, what is important. And that's what I do to more or less all my books.
Uh,
And are management, my HR related books or management books or professional development books. I do that because that helps you to go back and revisit
Beautiful.
those sections of the book which could be interesting to you, which you might want to apply.
Oh yes, yes. And that's a lovely way that you have put in there by putting those post-its is for a quick reference, you know which book to pull and which page to quickly go into, right? You're not lost in the chaos of so many books around you.
And especially when you're picking a book like Blue Ocean Strategy, which is technically, every page has a
Yeah,
technical information. Every
yeah,
page
yeah.
has a technology that you can apply in the workplace or apply in your personal and professional life. So if you
Absolutely.
want to focus on particular sections, I think it helps you.
Lovely. See, being an automobile total quality management processes help us so much.
I
Beautiful,
guess it does.
beautiful. Huh?
Yes, it
Yes,
does. It does.
it does, it does. So quickly tell us why Blue Ocean Strategy as a book that you picked for the talk.
Blue Ocean Strategy, I think, is one. which is not just helping you to polish your strategic thinking process.
Hmm.
It is telling you beyond it. If you look at
Hmm.
the section of the Blue Ocean, it is also telling you how to hit the heart and minds of the employees
Hmm.
who have to help you in the execution of the strategy,
Ah.
right? So it's not just about building a world class strategy, but who are the ones who's going to execute it? You need people, you need resources, you need motivation around to
True.
execute that. So Blue Ocean basically hits the nail for me. It basically helps me to communicate to leaders that while you may have a fantastic strategy in place, but you need to communicate that strategy appropriately. You need to ensure that the hearts and minds of the people who are going to execute is involved into the strategy execution,
Hmm.
and there is clarity as to what is expected so
Right.
that all of us are on the one page.
True.
So generally, we talk about creating a buy-in from the stakeholders, right?
Hmm.
From the
Hmm.
my profession as HR, I think every time I need to create
That's
a
your
buy-in.
day in day out job.
Absolutely, every stakeholder is a different customer to me.
Hmm.
Anything that I wish to do as an intervention or anything which is a strategy or an HR strategy for the organization, a buy-in is required.
Hmm.
So Blue Ocean strategy helping me to create that buy-in by having the head, heart, and mind of the stakeholders.
Correct. Correct.
That's a beauty. I think another important aspect as business, if I have to talk about business, is how do you differentiate yourself as an organization?
Hmm.
Even for my HR profession, I think we have to be brand ambassadors. We keep talking. How do we attract talent? How do we
Yeah.
retain? How do we develop them? We can't do any of these if we don't differentiate ourselves.
True.
So we keep talking about EVPs, employee value propositions. Now,
Hmm.
what builds our EVPs is a lot of this differentiation factor.
Absolutely.
That's the same that business would be doing by applying Blue Ocean strategy.
Hmm.
So for business, the Blue Ocean strategy is coming out of the trap of the Red Ocean.
Correct.
So the
True.
book beautifully talks about the Red Ocean and the Blue Ocean. And just to simply tell the participants what Red Ocean would be, these are markets where most of the organizations are competing. These are known markets. This is the limited area of the market which is available to all, but it has been saturated or it has been exploited already. Now, the authors of Blue Ocean is helping us to really understand how, as an organization, you need to come out of this red ocean trap and move into the blue ocean. Blue
Right.
ocean markets which have not been explored. It is
Hmm.
exploring markets which will make your competition irrelevant. That means don't get into a trap of always considering your competition and trying to create a strategy or the next ideas, initiatives, etc. But
Hmm.
get into a blue ocean where the markets have not been explored. And
Hmm.
in that manner, you will have a strategy which is future thinking.
Very true.
Right? So this is one reason why I think this book is absolutely, something that is a must read. And like I said, I've read this at least 7 to 8 times. And if we know this is one of the book which was written way back in 2005, it got published with new contents in 2015.
Yeah.
It got more than 4 million views or selling done, and it's published in more than 46 languages.
True.
I'm sure people will agree that this is one vocabulary which has become a part of business vocabulary,
Yes. Very true.
right? In fact, very interestingly, just last week I was interviewing a very senior business manager, and he kept on talking about red ocean, blue ocean, and it really shows that it's a part of the business
It
vocabulary,
has. It
and that's
has.
up. Oh, okay, wow. That's interesting to see that people really use these jargons, terms, as part of their business vocabulary. So
Absolutely.
it's not only application, but I think it's become a way of life to run business and to make it
Beautiful.
successful.
Beautiful. I think you said it, calling it the way of life, because the moment we have leaders walking and using these words in their regular vocabulary, it just means that it has got ingrained as part of the business thought in many organizations, right?
Absolutely.
And and,
Absolutely.
and I think this book, I call it a workbook more than a book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
got
interesting.
so much of techniques in the place that you can pick up and just apply, and it will give you results.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you for picking this, Pooja, because you're the first guest who picked this book. Nobody else had picked this book, so I'm very, very happy to talk on this. So let's straight away dive into a couple of thoughts that the author is talking. However, both of us know that 45 minutes is not enough to do any justice to the depth of this book.
Yes.
Let's attempt to talk about few that we thought are important for the young leaders.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask the first one to you. And as an HR leader,
Hmm.
these two words are very, very important for you exclusively. One, adding value to people. Two, constantly trying to be innovative because today the business HR is the word. Now, the author very beautifully brought these two words together called value and innovation and says value innovation.
Right.
Tell us how should young leaders understand this word called value innovation?
All right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is the initial few pages that really begins with value innovation. And this is one framework that can be applied no matter which profession you belong to.
Hmm,
As for the author, and I agree with what it's trying to demonstrate, is that value and innovation go hand in hand. So, what are they trying to say is that while at one side you need to differentiate yourself, there has to
hmm,
be value that is
hmm,
different from your competition, from the existing products and services, or even from anything that is available to the existing customers.
hmm,
But the cost.
hmm,
So it has to go hand in hand. You need to increase value, which is important, which will be viewed differential by the customer, but at the same time, you need to keep an eye on the cost. You
yes.
can't raise both together. Further, the author also says that value and innovation have to go hand in hand in the way that, for example, if you provide a product and service to a
Hmm,
customer which has a lot of value,
hmm,
but if the customer doesn't need that value at that point of time,
hmm,
or if the customer feels it's a repetitive value and nothing innovative about it,
hmm.
I think it's not going to be something which will help you to make a difference in the
True,
market.
true.
Similarly, vice versa. If you're able to innovate something and you
Hmm.
get the customer that particular innovative stuff, but if the customer doesn't know how to use it,
Yeah,
or
no value.
yet what you've got as innovation to him or her, there is
Hmm,
no value.
hmm,
One example that comes to my mind, and even the author has mentioned, which in my experience is absolutely right, is we've heard about that Segway personal transporters, right?
yes.
Which got designed and developed way back in 2001. I think fantastic innovation. Very exciting. I don't know if you've actually been on the Segway. Fantastic innovation, right? And you kind of press it ahead, you go forward, you press it behind, you go backward. You know you can ride your way wherever you want. Very exciting, very smooth. But what happened to them is innovation was not enough because
Yeah.
customers didn't know where am I supposed to ride this on a
Hmm.
sidewalk or on the road. Where am I going to park it? Am I? Is it worth spending the
Correct.
money, the
Correct.
cost of that Segway? I think way back it was $5,000 or something, and even more. So eventually, what happened? I think in the first 6 months, Segway was a popular product, and they actually reached break even. But eventually, what happened is the customers didn't appreciate the innovation because there
Yeah.
was no value into.
Value.
And then what happened is Segway kind of pulled off, which was not surprising the way the business was moving. So that's one thing that came to my mind is that you need to have a good balance. Also, the author stresses that value innovation is very different from technological innovation.
Hmm.
We confuse it. A lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
times you know that most of the strategy planning workshops when you attend or the meetings that you attend, R&D plays the most important role.
Hmm.
According to strategy planning workshops, if there are new products being launched, new technology in the pipeline, great job. But
Hmm.
here in the blue ocean strategy, the author is giving you a little alternate thinking. He's saying not necessary that you need to have technological innovation, not
Right.
necessary you need to create keep creating new products, new services, or creating value. What's important is that what is perceived as valuable to the customers,
Mm.
what is perceived as that area of the market which is not tapped by your customer, by your competitors, is
Mm.
focus as part of the
Right,
strategy,
right,
right?
right.
This is one of, I would say, the traps that the author talks about,
Mm.
that do not confuse value innovation with technological innovation.
Okay.
At the same time, the author is also saying, while you're talking about value innovation, you need to
Mm.
focus on differentiation and cost.
Mm.
So there are few things that you need to eliminate, few things you need to create, few things that you just need to change. There's a four-box matrix that the author
Yes.
talks about, which we will be discussing further. But keeping those four things in mind, a lot of times, companies would want to focus on creating differentiation, so they would change the whole product.
Yes,
But
yes.
what they've missed is, have you kept your eye on elimination as well? Because if you don't eliminate few things, how do you control the cost?
Right, right.
And the vice versa. Sometimes the companies are focusing completely about eliminating
Mm.
certain things, but they are changing certain existing features.
Yeah.
But then, if they do not focus on the differentiation, are you creating something new for the customers? So
Correct, correct.
there's a balance of differentiation and cost to the
Yeah,
customer.
yeah, yeah.
These are, I think, certain traps beautifully put into the book by the author. And when
Mm.
you're working as part of value innovation, I think these are absolutely important aspects to be considered.
Beautiful, beautifully articulated. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Just
Listen.
coming to how we have used it in our profession, you know, I think value innovation, in my experience, can be applied. This concept can be applied in everything,
Mm.
right? From
Mm.
people, products, services, customers, experiences, call it anything. Let's take an example. I have this talent management framework in the organization.
Mm.
So, attracting talent. How do you differentiate yourself as an organization
Uh,
to attract the right talent? Right? May not be from your competition, maybe from a very different industry.
mm.
So think differently, think, try to get your people from a different industry who comes with new perspective.
Mm.
The author also talks about somewhere for the product services, that why are you just
Yeah.
focusing about a particular market, a particular
Correct.
audience, a particular customer base. Similarly for us as HR, why are we not thinking about, just forget about poaching people from competition and trying to get people maybe from other industries
Very
and
true.
trying to integrate them and get their fresh ideas and solutions. And that's what the author talks about as part of value innovation, and we can use it within the talent management framework. And we have been trying to do that. We have been, in fact, you work with automobile, and you'll be surprised that we've also got people to work with us from financial industry,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
It does. We have experimented and it does make sense, because at the end of the day, you know, automobile industry is a very small world.
Yes.
And if we keep fighting for talent amongst us, we don't, as companies, gain anything. At the end, of course, the employees gain or the candidate gains, but as an organization, we don't really gain. So we
Mm.
start thinking differently, and we try to even create talent pipeline frameworks which are differential in nature, but at the same time, keeping the cost factor in mind.
Mm.
So instead of always getting people from outside, creating a long-term talent management process which will help me to grow people internally with the,
Right.
so that'll help me to. And how am I going to do that is when my process is different and the people are attached to the process and I can retain them. That's
Correct.
the way I can develop them and I can keep them till I have an opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
And if I do that, I'm able to take care of the cost as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Attracting people from outside, we all know, is 10 times much higher than if you grow an internal person. Call it
Mm.
from any perspective, from engagement perspective, from hiring cost, from training cost, from retraining cost, culture alignment, value system. If you
Lot of
consider
work there.
all the tangible and intangible, I think having an internal talent pipeline definitely would be much beneficial. But for that, you need to be different. You need to create value for your internal customers.
Correct.
And interestingly, as HR, I think everybody around us is a customer. Your boss is a customer because he wants performance from you. Your employees are your customers because they expect that they are grow they have the career path, the growth. They expect so
Hmm.
much. So they are your customers. Your team is your customer because they are always following you. They are looking up to you for guidance, solutions,
True.
help, etc. So everybody is a customer. Now, when everybody is a customer, and if you don't have a differential factor in you, then why would they stay with you?
Absolutely. Very rightly said. True.
Right? Why would your boss want you to work in his team, and why not hire somebody else? Why would your team want to work with you as a manager, and why not go and work with another organization, another manager, which will give him better pay, better compensation, better growth, and likewise the employees around you.
True.
Why would you want to be associated with your organization, your frameworks, etc.? So I think as an HR, value innovation. If you understand the concept and you keep it in mind that differential factor, keeping in mind the cost, it works brilliantly.
Beautifully said. I think thank you for investing time in expanding this, Pooja, because people should not understand this as a business word and doesn't apply in functions like HR or OD. It applies everywhere.
Absolutely.
A person who's creating a small craft and selling it in a small shop can also use value innovation and see how can I add value by the innovation that I create,
Absolutely true.
right? I think it's a very powerful word for me. It's just about the leader thinking with the team and always using these two words while going to the whiteboard and before putting the strategy in place. If everybody trains themselves like that as young leaders when they're growing, I think the value can be tremendous and can be a multiplier effect in organizations, isn't it?
Absolutely. I
Super.
totally agree.
Super, super. Thank you so much for that. That takes me to a very interesting point that I want to talk about. As value innovators, if young minds train themselves to think in that line, like you're talking, the author also says that such leaders should start focusing on big pictures and not on something called numbers.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So tell us, in the part of big picture that the author is talking, one of the powerful step he says is called visual exploration.
That's right. That's
Right?
right.
And visualization is also something that many authors talk in many books.
Hmm.
What is visual exploration for you, Pooja, and how have you used it in your own role as an HR?
Yeah, very interesting. I'm just going to go, a little step behind so that I can kind of create a continuity in my response. The author in this chapter, particular chapter, is talking about creating a focus on the big picture and think about all the strategy workshops that we've been
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
Then what happens is when you enter a strategy workshop, people are with huge competition data, market share, volumes, PIV, a lot of spreadsheets, fantastic
All
presentation.
the MBA books come out.
Absolutely fantastic presentation, the best presentation skills that can go into making a
True.
presentation for a strategy. Now, what is the author saying here is rather than focusing on a strategic planning process alone, which is a
Hmm.
document, putting up something on a black and white,
Hmm.
try to create a strategy canvas.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what is it? He's trying to say that can you visualize your as is position
Hmm.
and then your to be position?
Right.
Right? And in that process, he's talking about four very important, steps of visualizing strategy, starting with visual awakening, visual exploration, visual strategy fair, and visual communication.
Hmm.
Right? Now, what's visual awakening? As the word says, that try to plot where are you as is, try to see what's
Current
good,
situation.
not so good in your product services. It's just like trying to know, okay, where do we stand?
Hmm.
But when it comes to visual exploration, it's very interesting. The author says that, we've heard about mystery shopping. A lot of
Oh
companies do.
yes, yes, yes.
So what do we do there? We ask some people to go and can you like get into my dealerships? I think even your past company would be doing. We did that.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you go and just kind of see the feedback, come back, make an evaluation, tell us what is going right, wrong? So what are we trying to do is we are trying to lend somebody's ears and eyes.
Mm.
In visual exploration, the author is saying that, you need to be the eyes and ears of your own company.
Ah.
Do not outsource your own eyes. And I like what he says.
Mm.
Saying everything is outsourced, but do not outsource your eyes and ears. So what does it mean is go on the field by yourself.
True.
You may want to create groups of people, let them go visit, talk to the customers, talk to your dealers, distributors, your sub dealers, secondary dealers, whoever you want to get the feedback from, but let them be the eyes
Mm.
and ears of the organization.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, I like this because we as HR also, a lot of time, we have these engagement surveys, we
Yeah.
have the pulse surveys, and we prefer to have an external agency doing it so that
Mm.
they are our eyes and ears. Okay, there are several reasons why that might be a good idea.
Mm.
Besides that, we as HR cannot stop gathering this data directly.
I agree.
So you can't say that because I have an annual engagement survey that gives me a lot of uh, open and closed-ended answers, and I get a lot of data which help me to strategize my HR strategy and actions and plans.
Mm.
Is it really needed that I should spend time talking to my internal customers?
Yes.
I don't think it's a good idea at all. I guess yes, you may want to hire outsource engagement surveys, etc. But at the same time, you need to have processes where you are directly getting feedback and you are
Mm.
directly, you are using your own eyes and ears to get the data to
Right.
understand
Right.
the pulse of where your organization engagement is going,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
In this perspective, I kind of read something which was the Blue Ocean Leadership Grid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what have they done is applied exactly what Blue Ocean visual exploration is applied in business. They've
Mm.
applied it that as a leader,
Mm.
you need to be prepared that it is people who will either buy you or not buy you.
Very true. Very true.
They are your customers. Do not forget.
Correct.
You may be in a position of power and authority. You
Mm.
may say that just because I'm in the position of power and authority, everybody will follow me.
Doesn't
No,
work.
doesn't work. Remember, people still have the choice. They will either buy you or will not buy you.
Yes.
Now, what happens in both the cases? If they buy you,
Mm.
get the support, you get their commitment, and
Mm.
you get their cooperation, engagement, enablement to execute the strategy that you have in mind.
Absolutely. Because they bought into it.
Absolutely. And if they don't buy you, I
Mm.
think it's damaging the
They
organization.
reject you completely sometimes.
Absolutely. And we are going to be talking, I think, later, some part of the book, the author also talks about the hurdles that you
Mm.
face.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So one of these hurdles in the Blue Ocean Leadership series also they have been talking about. So you have to be
Ah.
prepared that, like, when you launch a product, your customers may buy you, may not buy you.
Mm.
Right? Similarly, as a leadership, your internal customers have to look at you in a way. So what do? The four quadrant that we were talking earlier in value
Mm.
addition: eliminate, raise, reduce, and create.
Mm.
Right? You need to apply for your leadership as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Eliminate and reduce those aspects of your leadership
Ah.
that will help you to create a differentiation. Why should people work with you? Why should people be associated with your organization?
Mm.
Right? And raise and create those aspects which will have differentiation but reducing cost as well.
Correct. Correct.
So uh, I think one of the ways of 360, I think we experience 360, etc. If
Yes.
you use this, the Blue Ocean grid, leadership grid, it works well.
Mm.
See what is it that you will eliminate and reduce so that you take care of the cost, and from the 360 what you will raise and create so that you can create a differentiation value for
Mm.
your customers. It works well in the leadership grid.
Absolutely. So much of data you can get actually.
Absolutely. Only one thing that we need to remember is finally, as a leader, you
Hmm.
shoulder more responsibilities, and honestly, nothing comes free of cost. So even building credibility or having commitment around from people, everything is a pull factor.
Yes.
Yeah, and for that, if you can apply what you learn, what you would love to apply in in the business, if you can apply in your leadership, it works well.
Absolutely. I think what I liked in what you said, Pooja, I think it's a great lesson for all the young leaders who are listening to the guest guys. The book doesn't have to be seen as a organizational level strategy book. It can be a very individual level strategy as well, which is
Right.
what Pooja is talking about. You can pick up those pages and those learnings from the author and apply it for yourself. The role that you're sitting on, you could be an operation head, could be an HR head, could be a marketing head, could be a branding head, whoever you are. I think it's beautifully applied, which is what Pooja is saying in this particular session. Thank you so much, Pooja. It makes a lot of sense. I think it's time that leaders can look at such tools and try it on themselves, and they'll see applicability very, very clearly. And then they can expand it for their function, go beyond the function, and add value to the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the techniques in the book is you can customize it. The author is not telling you any hard and fast rule that you need to apply
Issue
a
about how. Hmm.
customize it, tweak it, what works well, what
Ab-
you are able to apply, what you are able to communicate. Like I
Very
said,
true.
articulation and communication is equally important. Just having a
Very
strategy, just having a framework is not important.
correct. Correct.
You're able to, if you want to simplify it. What stops you from doing it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. This brings me to a very interesting question. You spoke about hurdles, right? And I
Yeah.
think as leaders, from the moment we are wanting to communicate a strategy to the stakeholders, hurdles start. So we have befriended hurdles like one of our closest buddies who keeps walking along with us everywhere, whether it is visualization stage or application stage or result stage, right?
Yes. Yes.
Vikram Veta ka jo Vetal hai, remember that sits on your back, right? So the hurdles is along with you always,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Author talks about four organizational hurdles very powerfully in this. Now I'm going to ask you which one, or probably two hurdles, you
Hmm.
think are the most important for leaders to be aware of
Hmm.
as they are on their journey of strategy?
Right. I think, the author beautifully says that you may have a strategy canvas, you may have a strategy map, you look at it as a profitable model, everything looks beautiful, but the biggest challenge is also strategy execution.
Hmm.
And he talks beautifully about four hurdles, which I guess every leader can relate to:
Yeah,
cognitive hurdle, resource hurdle, motivation hurdle, and political hurdle.
true.
But in my experience, and also because I think I'm professionally related in HR, so I can relate a lot to the motivation hurdle.
Uh,
Yeah. So right in the beginning, I said that as a leader, you may have the best strategy, but if you do
hmm.
not have commitment, you do not have people who buy your strategy, or you do not have people aligned to your strategy, you can't execute it.
Very true.
The author speaks about how do you overcome this motivation hurdle.
Hmm.
And it's this brilliant, solution, which I guess a lot of us would be applying it, but we can further uh, use it more effectively.
Hmm.
He says that why not create kingpins?
Hmm.
Kingpins we all use in HR, like employee champions, and these are kingpins which are available in every organization.
Right.
People who are great influencers.
Hmm.
All of us as professionals will relate to this, that some people have brilliant influencing skills and
Naturally.
influencers. And remember, influencers can be positive and negative,
Absolutely. And your
right?
net promoter score is a classic example of that.
Absolutely. So now, if you don't want the influencers, whether you want to target positive or negative,
Hmm.
depending on your strategy,
Hmm.
right? So forget the negative and positive, but you need to focus on these kingpins. And
Hmm.
he zoom on the kingpins. Take those influences in your stride.
Ah.
create a buy-in with those influencers and see the multiplied influence that will happen and how your strategy will keep cascading.
Right, right, right.
These kingpins are not limited to levels and positions.
Mm.
Necessary they have to be an executive sitting in a strategy meeting, or some top department head, could be even the lowest in the department, but is somebody, of course, has the right skills and is somebody who is looked around by people, has high credibility by people,
Uh,
and create the rolling effect quite fast.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. Pick such people.
Yeah, and I think, I guess as professionals and leaders, we do that all the time. Subconsciously, we're all the time thinking, okay, who are those people who can support me to take this ahead, to take this
Mm.
initiative or action or idea or innovation? Because we know that every individual has a very different influential
Very
impact.
true. Very true.
If, as an organization, you are able to do that, one milestone is met to overcome the motivation hurdle.
Hmm.
Then the author also talks about place kingpins in a fish bowl, which he says is a fish bowl management. Here, what he's trying to say is, while you may have, you may want to focus on the kingpins, but at the same time, be very clear that there is no negative impact on the people around.
That's important.
Yeah, because what can happen is, you know what, this person is being favored, or this person has suddenly got out of chance promotion, or has gotten out of chance new intervention or new product work or anything that is
Hmm.
that everybody was eyeing, but this person has got, it can have a reverse impact.
It can. True.
Yeah, so what the author is saying is, place the kingpins in a fishbowl management means, first clarify to the kingpins what is expected, how it's going, what is the strategy, create a buy-in, do everything, but at the same time, be very clear and transparent and fair to
Hmm.
people for them to know what has differentiated the kingpins.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a very powerful one. Yeah.
Because in that case, you're taking care of 360. Otherwise, you may want to kind of work only with influencers, and you may create, the other spectrum of non-influencers or
Quite
negative
possible. Quite
influencers.
possible. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a very important step, isn't it, for the strategy person?
I, as a leader, I would say yes. As a leader, absolutely. There's no,
If you set this right, then there is a high probability of your strategy to get rolled successfully.
absolutely. And you can practice this not only for big strategies, but you
Hmm.
can practice this even for small, initiatives, ideas that you
Uh,
want to pull out. And in HR, I think is the best way to do this. And that's, I have tried and tested it myself. That, when you create a buy-in with the right influencers in the department, your NPS score cannot go wrong. Cannot.
Beautiful. So for you, motivation hurdle is one of the biggest among the others that he's talking
My
about.
experience, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right, because in organization, they say there are three P's that drive an organization: a product, a process, and people. By default, we know people are the most important P. If they are taken care, आपका process product तो चल पड़ेगा.
Right. That's
Because
also my,
this P drives the other P's, isn't it?
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so right, so right. True, true. Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. That takes me to the next question. Spend 2 minutes on this. Is he talks about something called the 3E principles of a fair process.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important.
Give us a little input on what is this 3E principle that leaders should apply towards building a strategy.
All right. So I think, somewhere I touched upon that it's very important that people feel a part of the strategy.
Uh,
You know, well, yes, it's not easy, especially for big organization, big group companies. So we are not, I'm not really saying, or neither is the author saying that you need to go and seek advice from all employees. We're not, the author is not propagating that.
hmm,
But the author is definitely telling you that when you are wanting to execute a strategy,
hmm,
it look as a fair process.
right.
And what are those three E's that he's talking about is, take care of engagement, explanation, and expectation clarity. of your strategy.
Right, right.
What does it mean is engagement again coming back. It's going to be people who are going to drive your strategy. Are you going to do it alone? No, it's not going to happen, right? So engagement is basically talking about seeking ideas, seeking suggestions, involving people at different levels so
Mm.
that before a decision is taken or before a strategy is put for execution, at least people feel that they have contributed.
Very true. Very
And there
true.
are many ways in which you can do that. And again, repeating, not saying you need to involve 100% of the people. At least, if not everybody, at least the influencers or at least part of the organization, so that people feel that yes, there was something that was being, talked about.
And I was part of that.
Absolutely. So that takes care of your engagement,
Right.
motivation, commitment, call it whatever you want.
Mm.
Is the explanation. Now there are a couple of times you need as a management because at the end of the day, the management has a larger view. No matter, even if I am a member of my board of directors, but at the time when it comes to decisions, the chairperson, the chairman, has
Right.
the biggest view because he not only knows about this organization, he knows the link to the group, he knows all the other impacts. So it might happen that at the end of the day, a lot of ideas came out, a lot of suggestions we did consider, but at the end of the day, a different decision was taken or a different
Right.
strategy plan was put into place. Really not a problem because there are reasons, but can you communicate back the logic behind the strategy?
Mm. Mm.
Feed it back to the employees because if you do that, I think right at the beginning I spoke about the mind and the heart.
Ah, yes.
Bring the mind and the heart of the individual, and then it's not about forceful participation, it is about voluntary contribution.
Right, right, right.
The employees then understand that why this particular decision is taken, even if it is completely reverse of what I we were talking about.
Ah,
If they understand the logic behind it, and if they are given the explanation to it, I think half your job is done as an organization.
very true, very true, very true.
Make that a fair process. Explain it to them. What stops you from giving them the logic?
End of
Right?
the day, they are going to execute it for you.
That's what the author says. That at the end of the day, they're going to execute. So instead of forceful execution, you will have voluntary commitment and participation.
Very true, very true.
Last one, expectation clarity. You need to have clarity on what are you expecting these people to contribute in your strategy execution.
Uh,
Have clarity on performance goals. Have clarity on where you want to go on this particular strategy. What are the milestones? And you just can't communicate that, okay, this is what our strategy is going to be for next 18 months, 24
mm,
months, but you're not telling the people what are you expecting from them,
yes.
right? So have that clarity. And at the end, you know it's important that when you want to use these three E's, you can't use one of the subset of the three E's and say, okay, done, I have used, say, the explanation and I'm done. No,
All
you have
three.
to use all three.
Very
If
true.
you want the output, you want the result that you're expecting, and if you want to use the real concept of the three E's, it has to be all three together.
Beautiful.
Cannot be partially, and it cannot be a subset of the entire principle
Lovely.
thing.
Lovely, lovely. Very, very nicely articulated. I think the most powerful one is all the three E's are very important. You either use all of them or don't use any of them.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very, very nice. Very true. I think it's very powerful because creating a fair process. So the word fair is the strengthening word in that sentence. And if we do the three E's effectively, it becomes very fair. And when people see you as a fair leader, they would probably nod to what you want them to do and you get their buy-in completely. Most organizations fail in executing strategies because they don't see that word fairness there.
Absolutely. And that's what the author is stressing on. And that is why I think the last line, when you read the book, it really says, please do not use one of them and come back and say it didn't work.
It won't work.
It won't work.
True,
So please
true.
use all three of them, and then come back and tell us what has been the result.
Lovely, lovely. Beautiful, Pooja. So I'm going to come to the last question of this session. With all that years of experience that you have garnered, and many young leaders listening to you would be on their journey of aspiring to become head of HRs like you. They would want to reach the position that you are, where you get to see the balcony view of the entire organization. You're a fast track leader, and I'm sure many young leaders want to do that. For all of them, two razor sharp advices that you would love to give, Pooja.
Okay, here I'm going to really give you out of my experience. One of the things that one advice to young leaders is overcome small hurdles. Like
Mm,
you mentioned, yes, I've been a fast track. I've been a women leader in the automobile, and where it's not immediately acceptable. But these were hurdles. These were hurdles while I was growing up to be the leader, I did face, but I did overcome them. And you have to be ready for the challenges.
beautiful.
The more thorns that you have on your path of success in the earlier years is much better than facing too many hurdles in the later part of your profession.
Beautiful.
Because when you face it right in the beginning, you already are prepared. What worst can happen more than what I have gone through, because even the
Yeah.
professional will be up to a limit. So if you are a young leader, somebody who aspires to grow in the organization, do not crib about the challenges or the hurdles that you face,
Mm,
have to face. And I'm talking about the hurdles which you will face in your personal and professional life.
true, true.
So that's one advice. And second is, of course, reach beyond your limits. If you think you have already created some benchmark for
Mm,
yourself, and if
mm,
people have uh, kind of confirmed those benchmarks, then yes, when I look at this job, I see Pooja as a benchmark. Well and good, but do not stop there. And that's what I do. So I don't stop at a particular benchmark, but I try to see that how can I create a new benchmark over it? If I
lovely.
can create this, I can do something better.
Mm,
So, well, people would appreciation and acknowledgement from people is important because that gives you a confirmation that you're doing the right thing.
true.
But do not stop there. Go beyond and try to see what more can you do and what best can you do. Because I'm a strong believer that you know your potential. You cannot decide your potential or realize your potential till you keep challenging yourself.
I agree. I agree.
So try to go beyond and try to do more and try to think it's never ended. No matter what age you're in, you have to keep doing and doing and doing and creating your own benchmarks and break your own benchmarks.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. In other words, you're saying try to be the blue ocean, not just get stuck in the red ocean space. It's expanding, it's ever expanding. So many opportunities, reinventing yourself continuously, right? Very truly said. I think one thing that you said was very powerful, Pooja, is the more the young leaders invest in their first half of the career, they will get to harvest a lot in the second half of the career.
That's right.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Pooja, for coming on this show and talking about this powerful book and sharing experiences. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you so much, Ravi and Rajiv. I think it was fantastic and I enjoyed.
Thank you. Look forward to see you sometime when you travel to your city onward.
Thank you,
Till
Rajiv.
then, keep reading and thank you so much.
Bye bye.